So when you guys, like in the early days of the band, what was like? That's always the connection with rock and roll and drugs. Like this is like that's the narrative.
Yeah.
Was that in the early days of Pink Floyd? Was that the case?
It wasn't really
No.
relevant. I mean, during the time when I was smoking hash every day was 1970, 71, 70. So it's pre Dark Side. It's when we were making medals, so it's echoes and things. But I don't think it impinged on my burgeoning writing career, if you like, when I was, starting to write songs, because Sid went crazy in 1967, and so by 69 we weren't seeing him anymore. He disappeared completely.
And was that because of LSD? Or was it?
No, I don't think so. But
that's the narrative, right?
Yeah, that's the narrative, or one of the narratives. It may be because he was mixing with people who were doing acid on a regular basis, I think, in 67. And I'm sure he did too much. He did too much of it. Was he teetering on the edge of what might be called schizophrenia at the time? I think so, probably. A lot of the things that he was saying, and it was right at the beginning of us getting our first record in any chart, which was Arnold Lane. No, it was after Arnold Lane. It was when See Emily Play came out, and we were beginning to do TV shows in England. He went very odd, and he started. I remember him at Top of the Pops in the dressing room one day. He had hair a bit like that painting on the wall, and going sort of like, and then going, looking worried and a bit frightened, and then going, John Lennon doesn't have to do this, which was kind of wacky. This was like 3/4 of the way through the Beatles' career, because they only had that one decade, really. And so he had misgivings about being on a miming pop show, Sid, this is what we've worked towards for the last 4 or 5 years, is to be on Top of the Pops and make a few quid, buck up, boy, let's get on with it. And but he never did buck up from sort of that moment on, really. He wrote a few more songs, but nothing of any real note. And he just got more and more and more detached until he was completely wacky and not making any sense. And I made a lot of attempts to find out what was wrong and to involve his family. He had elder brothers, so I would ring up and say, hey, there's something really wrong with Roger, as they called him, because his name was Roger Barrett, not Sid Barrett.
Oh.